Election time is approaching in Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida. It's a local election, but a very important one because we will be electing a new mayor and city council members in just a few days. Many of you have already received your absentee ballot. We thought we'd give you a quick snapshot of the candidates that are running for mayor. We interviewed all of the candidates over the last year, except for two. Leanna Cumber and Dan Davis have chosen not to do interviews. Instead, they've chosen to fight it out on the airwaves with their commercials through their political campaign, their political action committees. And instead of sitting down with an interview where they would be pinned down to specific issues, they're hoping that you will not pay attention to that, but either like them or not. That's what they're hoping for. So here we are. I'm going to give you snapshots of why you and why now from the candidates that we've talked to that are running for mayor of the city of Jacksonville.
That aside, with the question asked of why me, why now? Why me is because I couldn't run. I spoke at the Mayoral Forum for the Rotary Club, the First Coast Rotary Club at downtown at the Marriott. And I spoke. I was one of the table members, if you will, of candidates. And I was second to the end on the left. And the question was asked, introduce yourself. And when it got to me, I said, hello, I'm Frank Kiesler. And unlike anybody else up at this table, I am not running for mayor. I sit here and I'm on your show because I couldn't run from God's call for me to run for mayor. I don't need this in the sense that I'm not a person that's a political, I don't have a political career. I've supported mayoral candidates. I supported a state Senate candidate out of Tampa decades ago. And I mean in an active way, actively involved in the campaign. It's just something that I said, I am so tired of two parties tearing us apart and government killing America and our government at the local level being run in a manner that just belies logic, belies any sense of compassion, and really belies any economic justification for what you're doing and what you're getting in so many things that we do, quote unquote, in government. So I designed a pin that God put on my heart called the All Patriots, All Lives Patriot pin. It was a cross, a flag, and 5 emblems, red, yellow, black, white, and brown. We all have purpose and meaning wherever found. The Creator loves and knows all the people of the world. Well, then we had the George Floyd. We had Lenny Curry taking things down in the middle of the night. And then continued with the COVID and what we've seen. And I can't find anybody, Fred, that's happy with where we are or what we've seen over the last 2 years. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to let another political candidate, and candidly, Fred, a white candidate, one more time, patronize, placate, and pander the black leadership in our town, in our state, in our country, with a gesture done in the middle of the night. And I don't care. I do care. Please understand, I care deeply. But I am convicted to say what the message is that God's put on my heart and what I am as a person. And nobody will ever get me to convince me that things done by the government in executive order, if you will, meaning by one person's decision in the middle of the night, is democracy dies in the darkness. And nothing legitimate is found, if you will, around the corner in the cloud in the cover of life. That's not where legitimacy in government. I'm not saying anything about the issue of taking down a statute or every Confederate statute, if that's really what we think will make a difference, torn down and made into concrete. But until we get together on things that are much more fundamental as a people, I think we better start addressing things such as the whole issue of our relationship. And that's why my campaign's called An Awakening, building together a city of people with their heads lifted. And the first order of business is we're going to take note of where we are in this nation and then look each other in the eye and who we are. And that's where the task.
So, when you become entrenched into the politics, you get to see how it works. You get to see what works and you see what doesn't. And it's been very upsetting to me to see people that I work with that are more interested in lining their pockets than doing what they've been hired for. One of the things that upsets me is when people get up on a stage or in front of an audience and they say whatever they need to say to get into office. As soon as they get into office, they do something completely different. Even if you disagree with what they said, if they get up and they promise you that they're going to do something, they do something different. The amount of trust, it bothers me on that. It bothered me to see our JEA not just try to get sold twice, but actually be put on the market to be sold a third time that a lot of people aren't aware of. These things are detrimental to our community, and it will keep us from growing if we go in these directions. How can you go and say that you want to stop crime and things like that in our city when you're allowing elected officials to do this and get away with trying to do things that are harmful for generations to our city? So being somebody who's seen this, I said, hey, I can do something about this, and I'm going to do something about this. And that's why I'm running for office. I want to make our city better. I want to fight this corruption. I'm going to go after it, and I'm going to get rid of it. Just like I did with the internet cafes, I'll do that in our government.
My. I will place you in the tree shakers column, not because you're on a lawn service, but because you're looking to make a change. And you mentioned the word corruption at least about 10 times here, which is something I haven't heard any of the other candidates do. So,
well, what do you think? Do you think that we don't have corruption in the city?
Well, of course we have corruption.
Right.
We're a big city, major city. I mean, we've got a lot going on. There's a lot of money to be made. Right. One of the things that a city councilman once told me when he was running for mayor back in the 80s, and he cited it, he pointed toward one particular area where you can make good money, and that is every time you have construction going on, because it never ends, it's a great license to steal money, he told me, Fred. It's a great, because we always have, there's never going to be construction, there's always going to be construction. That means there's always an avenue to make more money and get it on the side. So, and he was a city councilman, and he felt strongly like you did.
I won't take on city contracts because I never want that to ever be the doubt in somebody's mind.
Yeah. Well,
when you're dissatisfied with what you see happening, and if you feel like you have something to offer, our system is set up that the average person can, should, and could throw their hats into the ring to become whatever office you're running for. And when I see, and what I saw and still see happening in Jacksonville, the change is so far from coming to fruition. Fred, when I came back home, I was excited. And when I looked around, I said, Jacksonville has gone 10 years in the wrong direction. And it's been steady traveling in that direction ever since. And that was back in 19...
What do you mean by that?
Look around you. We have our school system. Right now, we've gotten to the point that we have what I consider food deserts in, not food deserts, but we have food deserts as well. We have educational deserts in North Jacksonville. They're constantly closing down our schools. Our babies are having to be bused to other areas. We've got things are just going in the wrong direction. We have progress in one area of town continually and decline in another continually. South side is continually going up. North side is continually going down. And those things should not be.
Now, you this is not your first foray at looking at the top spot, so to speak, going for mayor's office. But you don't think that you could have made some progress on the district level in correcting some of this by using your considerable talents on the district level to attract businesses to these food deserts, which is a major issue in zip codes 7, 8, 7, 9, and 10 in particular. So you don't think you could have made as much of an impact in trying to draw businesses to those districts as you can at the top spot, the mayor's spot?
Probably not, by virtue of the fact that the number of people that you have to get on your side to get something done within the council, I'm not sure I would have been able to make the impact that I would. There's a lot of compromise, and I understand you must sometimes compromise to get the things that you need and want done, but there's no guarantee that once you compromise to help someone else, you're not sure it's going to be reciprocated. So the way I see it is good leadership starts at the top and trickles down. And we have not had that consistently in Jacksonville.
Now, with the exception, the century-old exception of Alvin Brown getting elected, now some 12 years ago, believe it or not, since he got elected, because we've gone through nearly 8 years of the present administration. Alvin only got to serve 4, so roughly about 12 years ago. And of course, the successful election of Nat Glover to sheriff. He made an unsuccessful run after 8 years of sheriff to attempt to be mayor. But that's about it for African Americans at the top spot. County-wide, we've had a great deal of success. Well, I'll say a great deal of success. We've had some success with African Americans on getting elected on the county-wide level in the at-large system. As we speak right now, 2 African American males have the 2 top spots on the city council as council president and vice president, and looks like the one will succeed the other as president in the coming year if tradition holds. But aside from that, there's just not that much success in countywide seats for African Americans. What makes you think this is going to be any different?
I think the people are tired of the same old status quo. And, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And in Jacksonville, nothing has changed for the people of Jacksonville in decades. And as I speak with people around the county, both African American and European Americans, people they're just tired of it. They're tired of the good old boy system. They're tired of things that are promised that are not trickling down to our tables. They're tired of partisan politics that are failing us continually. And so I think it's our time. And when I say our time, I don't mean just Black people, but I mean our time for the people of Jacksonville. It is indeed our time for us, for our voices to be heard, because government is supposed to be for and by the people. That's not happening. The only way that happens is if the people of Jacksonville are allowed to have input in the decision-making processes for those things that govern their lives. And that's not happening with us.
The opportunity was now. That's number one. Things just, my faith is very strong, and things just lined up. I just the way they should have, because I believe in divine order. I could have been in the middle of my Senate career, right? I could have decided that I wanted to run for Congress. That wasn't something that I wanted to do. And so I wanted to be able to stay home in my community. I've worked for it my entire career, but I've been traveling back and forth. I've gone to a lot of conferences too, to make sure I understood and educate myself in all things government and people. But it's just everything lined up, and I decided, you know what, I'm keeping my talent and skills and knowledge and relationships and all the things that I've been able to do in Jacksonville. And I want to watch and make sure that those funding that I brought home for different projects and safety and all of those things are actually spent and applied the way they should be and the way they were intended to be when they came from Tallahassee to Jacksonville, as well as the dollars we get from the Fed too, because I'm very cognizant of what those dollars are supposed to be spent for as well. And so I'm ready to lead, and I continue to lead, and so it's now is the time. And our city is still divided. There's so much focus on party instead of the people. It's all about the people. And the more we understand that the city council is not the legislature and the mayor is not the governor, it's the mayor of Jacksonville and the city council of Jacksonville. And that should be our sole focus. Doesn't matter if you want to, I am a national Democrat too. I get involved in national Democratic issues and events, but I know where I live. I know I live in Jacksonville. I know what I see in Jacksonville. I don't need anybody else telling me as a mayor what to do for the people of Jacksonville. And the mayor's not the president of the United States either, nor the governor. None of that. The mayor is the mayor of the people of Jacksonville.
Race was, you really have to show up and retail politic in this town. You're not going to win from 30,000 feet with a bunch of money. You got to get in the neighborhoods. You got to talk to people, and you got to be present. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we got to do that for about 3 months, and then for the rest of the time, we were stuck on Zoom and Facebook. But that's what's needed. If we end up with another COVID spike and I have to put on 3 masks, I'm going to do it, because I'm not going to not get in the neighborhoods this time.
Yeah, we just put on the mask and head on out. Put on the mask and a hoodie and head on out. That doesn't stop anything from happening. Why you? Why now? Because
Jacksonville is just, I feel like we're so on the cusp of being a great city. And I think right now, more than ever, because of exactly some of the things that we have discussed, we need a unifier. We need somebody who loves the city, who's not in this for political aspiration, but who is literally in this because she sees the pain points and wants to create that connection with the city that will allow us to solve problems. So I am a pragmatic problem solver, and I think somebody who loves and has empathy for every person in this city. And I can't think of a better time for that right now. I think people are starved for aspiration. I think they are starved for connection. And I think people are exhausted from the anger and the polarization. And I hope that with my campaign, that's what I've been preaching for the last 20 years, Fred. We gotta choose love over fear. And that means love for each other. And that means we see each other. And we have to use that as a priority for our city. And I think that's my strength. So that's why me. That's why now.